Welcome back, everyone. In the spirit of welcoming in a brand new year, I want to suggest 5 Muslim New Year's resolutions for 2025. The first New Year's resolution would be to renounce the Quran's denial of the crucifixion. Some Muslim apologists at least pretend to employ serious academic rigor when it comes to examining the biblical record, including facts about Jesus. But when it comes to the crucifixion, the mask comes completely off. Muslims are compelled by the Quran against overwhelming evidence to deny the crucifixion, which is even considered historically certain by atheist scholars. You know, the kinds of scholars Muslims typically love to cite, but when it comes to the crucifixion, the Quran's colossal historical blunder simply leaves them on an island all by themselves. What better way to start off the new year than simply renounce this verse? The word of the true God could not be so demonstrably wrong. Jesus was in fact crucified. And while you're rethinking the Quran's retelling of historical events, you might want to renounce the Quran's other myths, from Solomon's pearl-diving demons to the legends of Alexander the Great and so many more. Also renounce all the Quran's legends that developed from Jewish mystical tradition. We've explored many of those on this channel. It's simply better to observe, along with the Quran's original audience, that some of Allah's speech is nothing but old tales. Third, renounce the Quran's verses on women. Basically, all of the verses on women, not to mention the view of women throughout the Muslim world. Basically, all of that too, but start small. Start with the Quran. Renounce the verse that says Muslim men can beat their wives. The verses that say Muslim men can sleep with women they own. The verse that says Muslim men can consummate a marriage with a little girl. And the notion that waiting for Muslim men in paradise are hordes of large-breasted virgins. Muslim men should renounce these verses because using them to calibrate your moral compass makes you a scumbag. For the Muslim women who have problems with these verses that you aren't able to mention, you're right. You have problems with these verses for good reason. And for the Muslim feminist scholars out there trying to put their best lipstick on the pig, I feel sorry for you. Admit these ideas have no place in our modern world, but they do have a history of motivating people to commit terrible acts of immorality and violence across the spectrum, from domestic violence, the wife-beating verse, to large-scale terrorism. After all, there are sultry virgins awaiting those who die for Allah's cause, right? It's better to renounce these verses and admit that they belong more properly to a misogynistic, womanizing cult leader who also liked young girls. I think I just described Muhammad. Speaking of Muhammad, renounce the Quran's verses that say Muhammad is in the Bible. Do you remember the appearance of Muslim scholarly rigor I mentioned earlier, and how that shows itself to be just an appearance? Well, denying the crucifixion of Christ because the Quran tells you to isn't the only way to show yourself to be an unserious thinker. A second way would be the Muslim readings of the Bible featuring Muhammad. The Quran says he's in there, so he must be in there somewhere. There's one thing that all of the many attempts to prove Muhammad in the Bible have in common, namely, they're stupid. But they do make people laugh. Muslim apologists should start the new year by saving what little credibility, if any, they have left, and Muslims in general should really stop repeating these arguments. They aren't serious. Finally, if you get tired of renouncing the Quran, then accept what the Quran says when it repeatedly affirms the Torah and Gospel, and leave the Christians and Jews alone. We do judge, as the Quran says, by the Torah and Gospel. Regarding the insuperable difficulty of the Quran claiming to affirm books that it disagrees with, that is your problem, Muslims, not ours. And it's a problem that has resulted in radically reinterpreting these verses so that Allah's words mean the exact opposite of what they clearly say. Come to think of it, with respect to this 5th New Year's resolution, Muslim tradition and modern popular opinion have both renounced those verses already. I guess that makes only 4 New Year's resolutions for Muslims in 2025. That doesn't quite have the ring of 5 things for 2025, but including it in our list shows Muslims that renouncing the Quran has already begun. That's a step in the right direction, but there's so much more to do. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.